The dawn casts a pale light over the rugged terrain of Laconia, where the mountains meet the haze of endless olive groves and dark cypress trees stand solemnly against a vast ancient sky. A silence blankets the land, thick and foreboding like the stillness that precedes a storm. As the aromas of the underbrush mingle with the crispness of the air, history pulses through the earth beneath our feet. Here, in the shadows of its craggy cliffs, lay the remnants of a civilization that was both a marvel and a nightmare: Sparta. The air is heavy with the weight of unspoken truths. The Spartan ideal of strength and discipline was born from a brutal necessity, a severe environment that sculpted men into warriors and instilled an unyielding resolve. But beneath that proud exterior lies an unsettling paradox. What if the very discipline that fueled Sparta's meteoric rise ultimately forged the blades of its demise? The haunting echoes of clashing shields and the cries of men in battle reverberate through time, whispering secrets of ambition, loyalty, and the relentless pursuit of power. What does it mean to forge a society from fear? The question lingers like mist, curling into the corners of our understanding. Imagine standing on the battlefield of Thermopylae, the air thick with the acrid scent of sweat and blood, your heart thrumming in sync with the thudding of war drums. It is here on this hallowed ground where legends were born and ideals were forged in the crucible of combat. The Spartan warrior, clad in bronze, breathing in a melange of courage and dread, symbolizes the culmination of a harsh upbringing. Years of tumultuous training in the agoge forged not only their bodies but also their spirits. Yet within this realm of relentless discipline lies a darker undercurrent, an ethical dilemma that would shape not only Spartans but ripple through history itself. The agoge, a system where children were stripped of comfort and thrust into the harsh realities of survival and warfare, was both a rite of passage and a cruel crucible. Boys as young as 7 were ripped from their familial presence, schooled in the arts of war, and taught to turn vulnerability into ruthlessness. They learned not just to fight but to embrace suffering, to endure pain, and to suppress fear. In this relentless cycle of brutality, what parts of humanity were lost? The Spartan legacy does not simply reflect warriors standing steadfast against their enemies, it speaks to the cost of creating such fierce protectors. From the dusk of distant hills we can almost see those young boys, skin sunburnt and calloused, faces smeared with dirt and sweat, practicing in the shadow of their mentors. Their laughter mingles with the echoes of war, a fleeting glimpse into their fleeting innocence, a bittersweet note against the symphony of their own indoctrination. They would march, hungry and weary, through the rocky valleys, coaxed by promises of glory, ever mindful that one moment of weakness could spell disaster, not just for themselves but for their entire city-state. Weaving through these powerful visual images of discipline, this is not merely a tale of fallen warriors. It is one that speaks of a society gripped by fear, the fear of weakness, of chaos, and of defeat. Recall the stories of the Helots, subjugated peoples who toiled in the shadows of Spartan life. They lived under the watchful eyes of their masters, a constant reminder of who bore the brunt of Spartan ambition, the very foundation upon which this warrior society thrived. Like ghosts drifting between existence and oppression, they occupied a paradox. The peace of Spartan prosperity was built upon their suffering. Such tensions existed not just among rulers and the ruled, but wove a complex tapestry of loyalty, betrayal, and moral ambiguity that permeated every corner of Spartan society. Portraits of valor are easily romanticized, yet they obscure the deeper truths lodged within the Spartan milieu. As the banners unfurl on the battlefield, the dance of dominance and submission continues to play out. On the precarious cusp of desperation, citizens of Sparta clung to their ideals, an intricate balancing act at the intersection of extreme militarism and fledgling humanity. Underneath the steel-clad resolve, hearts beat with uncertainty. The soldiers knew that every victory exacted a toll, in blood, in dreams suppressed, and in the very essence of what it meant to be human. Intriguingly, history has a way of echoing through the ages, raising philosophical questions that feel more pressing than ever in light of contemporary struggles. As we delve deeper into the murky waters of Spartan ideology, we must ask, did the quest for perfection breed folly? Was it their very ambition that led them into the jaws of destruction? In the fervent longing for conquest, did they sacrifice the very values they fought to uphold? What indeed does it signify when a society prioritizes strength over song, discipline over defiance? Amidst the blood-soaked tapestry, the shadows of doubt lurked ever closer. Each triumph came stitched with the pain of the vanquished and the cries silenced in the pursuit of glory. For every banner raised in victory, there lay an uncounted multitude who bore the scars of ambition gone awry. The self-lauded Spartan constructs, their ideals, their rigorous ethics, began over time to wear thin, layer upon layer, eroded by the very real consequences of their society's rigid structures. In the fields where warriors once trained, the earth remembers. It remembers the way the sun sliced through the dawn fog, illuminating the paths the young warriors trod, their futures wrapped in uncertainty. It knows the weight of the choices made, the frail humanity sacrificed on the altar of strength. It witnesses the echoes of bronze against bronze, the fleeting moments of triumph followed by the inevitable decay. The narratives of the past carve pathways into our present, compelling us to confront the struggles, hopes, and fears that have shaped our lineage. As we breathe in the atmosphere of ancient Sparta, the layers of its legacy unfold like a scroll in the breeze, imprinting its lessons onto our psyche. Through the lens of their harsh triumphs and tribulations, we are drawn deeper into this paradoxical world where iron discipline coexists with crippling moral dilemmas. Shadows lengthen and the tension mounts. What lessons lie ahead within the rise and fall of a civilization defined by unwavering ambition and devastating paradox? As we tread further into this historical labyrinth, questions arise like specters emerging from the dust of time. What remains when the dual nature of discipline and brutality is laid bare? The weight of what has been forged calls us, drawing us toward the next chapter, where valor meets vulnerability in the heart of human existence. Here history waits to greet us with open arms, revealing the intricate dance of ambition, and we, like those ancient warriors, must grab hold of each lesson as we venture into the depths of Sparta's enduring legacy. As the sun rises higher over the valleys and cliffs of ancient Laconia, the land itself seems to come alive, breathing beneath our feet with a memory that stretches back into the recesses of history. The rugged territory of Sparta, characterized by its unforgiving landscape, was shaped by the very forces that defined its inhabitants. The rough-hewn mountains, steep and imposing, cast a long shadow over its citizenry, providing not just protection but a constant reminder of the battles they must wage, both against external foes and within their own hearts. Embedded within this landscape were the fertile plains that sustained the Spartan economy, a juxtaposition emblematic of their dual reality, a world where agrarian sustenance breathed life into a heavily martial culture underpinned by the ruthless Helot system. The Helots, a subjugated people descended from earlier inhabitants of Laconia, formed the backbone of Spartan agriculture, toiling in fields while their Spartan masters trained relentlessly for war. But this system, born from a necessity to support their military aspirations, was steeped in moral complexity. How could a society that prided itself on valor and courage uphold such a structure of oppression? To the Spartan, land was not merely a means for survival but a sacred covenant dictated by the gods. The worship of Apollo, with his oracles and prophecies, was central to Spartan identity, imbuing a divine justification to their militaristic ideals. Festivals in Apollo's honor stood as a vivid display of the intertwining of religion and daily life. They were grand celebrations marked by athletic feats and synchronized dances, reinforcing the virtues of discipline and physical prowess. Yet beneath these festivities lay the silent suffering of the Helots, whose lives were irrevocably tied to the will of their Spartan overlords. This symbiotic relationship was suffused with tension, an underlying current that threatened to erupt into open conflict, with the flicker of resentment igniting beneath their chains. The climate of competitiveness bred within Spartan society fed their ambitions for conquest, pushing them further into the arms of authoritarianism. As rival city-states grew and shifted dynamics, alliances were forged with both cunning and brutality. While the Spartans emerged as paragons of martial strength, society's fragility began to show. The burden of responsibility weighed heavily, revealing cracks within the very foundation they sought to defend. The emergence of the Delian League and the growing power of Athens, a flourishing center of art and democracy, jolted Spartan leaders, feeding their fiery ambition to not only maintain dominion, but to vanquish any threat to their perceived supremacy. Moreover, recurring skirmishes and moments of peace resulted in mixed feelings within Spartan ranks. The loyalists thrived under the banner of military fervor, but there were those who began to question the costs of such allegiance. As the Agoge continued to churn out fierce warriors, whispers grew among the populace of what it meant to live shackled by an ethos so relentlessly centered on warfare. A society that had prided itself on resilience was now at risk of unraveling from within, as the silent persistence of fear stirred discord among citizen soldiers. What was the true essence of Spartan identity, if burdened by such contradictions? As we pushed toward the heart of this complex reality, disparate beliefs within the Spartan ranks became increasingly evident. The duality of their social structure, elites avowing political decorum, while subjugated helots occupied an existence chained to servitude, sparked discontent. Tensions mounted on the fringes, as fear became intricately woven into the fabric of daily life. Young warriors, heads held high and eyes like daggers, emerged as symbols of valor, yet were haunted by understanding the brutal tools fueling their rise within a system that demanded not just obedience, but unwavering faith in ideals that easily unspooled into fragility. Consider the back alleys of Spartan villages, dimly lit and almost suffocating, the marketplace a reflection of wealth forged amidst war. The contrasting hues of wooden wares and vibrant cloth manifested both opulence and austerity. Barter and trade blossomed, but only for the chosen few who basked in the sunlight of their spoils. While citizens thrived economically, the helots remained, their contributions an invisible yet tangible force shaping Spartan wealth. Each growing season echoed the tension of expectation, of strength, and of the impending conflict that loomed close by, threatening to unravel their careful balances. In this way, growth became a double-edged sword, nourished by unspeakable suffering within the shadows of a society at war with its very soul. The rituals they practiced in warfare became sacred acts, binding Sparta's men in shared struggles but quietly reinforcing a collective sense of dread. An intricate tapestry of law surrounded these warriors, capturing imaginations and hardening their resolve. Yet every tale spun to uphold courage also masked layers of complexity within Spartan humanity. What of the children raised in this embattled atmosphere? What ethical teachings were woven into their very essence? And how would these ideals play out amidst the inevitable chaos ahead? Among these young boys, the training they received was not merely physical. It was psychological warfare of the greatest kind. They were taught to recoil from fear itself. A mentorship born from adversity, ingrained understanding, and a compelling need for loyalty to each other, yet slept beneath the surface. A questioning glance exchanged between brothers revealing tales of anguish inaudibly beckoning their attention. Virtue and vice were entwined, honor and dishonor birthed out of a singular act. How long could they retain their humanity as they embraced such rigorous demands? As the specter of war edged ever closer, whispers of dissent stirred the foundations even more, coiling tighter around the ways of thinking that had historically guided Spartan society. The susceptibility to fractures amid Spartan solidarity became evident as leaders grappled with an unrelenting thirst for expansion while the shackled helots clamored for autonomy. Now, in the shadow of martial excellence, the specter of division began to loom large, urging us to reflect. Spartan ideals forged in iron and virtue, shadowed by daily emotional exchanges among citizens, nurtured a quiet anticipation of change. In these ancestral halls, etched deep into the annals of their society, lies a vital notion. Legacy is not always what one expects. It echoes through time, refracting light and shadow, often illuminating unspoken truths that are far more powerful than deeds done in glory. Each clash of spear against shield resonated, creating ripples of consequence that would extend far beyond the horizon of the battlefield. The future points down a twisted corridor rife with dualities. This will push the Spartans toward a climactic confrontation, to contend with both their ideals and the realities built upon the ashes of ambition. The land beneath us is not merely a witness. It embodies the very conflicts intrinsic to humanity, an alarm bell resounding against the perils of power unrestrained, stealthily weaving the stories of destinies intertwined. The saga that is Spartan history does not merely reside in triumph, but rather unfurls a complex reverberation of doubts and conflicts yet to come, tempting us to uncover the tightly woven narratives that will challenge our understanding of what makes a civilization endure or falter. With every passing moment, the horizon darkens, a reminder that even the most disciplined armies cannot escape the inherent flaws of human emotion. What awaits is the inevitable collision between strength laced with fragility, a precursor to disruptive change that will one day redefine not only Spartan identity, but the very understanding of civilization itself. The tapestry of history beckons us onwards, into the lurking depths of fate, hinting at the transformative tides that threaten to rise, ready to consume whatever exists and deliver new legacies that will shape the future of all. In the towns and valleys where we tread, the daily rhythms of Spartan life pulse with a peculiar blend of expectation and purpose. The clang of bronze and iron resonates softly, not merely signifying preparedness for battle, but hearkening to an entirely different reality of routine and survival. It is within these echoes, the faint sounds of the market waking at dawn, the laughter of children playing amidst the ruins of stone structures, and the murmurs of ancient prayers offered to the gods, that the essence of the Spartan experience comes alive. Picture for a moment the modest homes of the Spartans, built with a restraint that mirrors their philosophy of life. Constructed from unadorned stone and timber, these dwellings seem to rise from the landscape itself, their walls thick and austere, symbolizing the unyielding nature of Spartan society. The roofs slanted sharply to permit the harsh rains of winter a swift escape, house families who breathe the same air seasoned by unbreakable traditions. Each dwelling, though humble, carries within it the warmth of familial ties and the weight of Spartan ideals. It is here in these intimate corners, where fathers instill principles of resilience and duty to sons, often reshaping the fabric of history in ways unseen, the human heart shaped by stern hands. At the break of day, as slivers of golden light reach above the peaks, the sounds of a woman's voice harmonizing with the morning breeze adds a vibrant note to the quietude, a call to action woven into the very essence of Spartan matriarchy. The role of women in this warrior society, often overlooked in the annals of history, burgeons with significance. In Spartan homes, a mother's influence is not merely about nurturing, it extends to guiding the next generation of warriors and citizens. These women were tasked not only with maintaining the hearth but were vital contributors to the lineage of strength. They echoed beliefs anchored in their daughters' upbringing, encouraging them to embody resilience against societal constraints, to bravely engage in physical training and preserve the bloodline of warriors. As the day progresses, the industrious hum of daily life unfurls. In the marketplace, vendors display goods born from both labor and ingenuity. Their baskets are filled with olives and figs, their scents mingling in the air, drawing in passers-by while artisans showcase their exquisite craftsmanship. The simple yet nourishing fare captures the essence of Spartan sustenance, a reflection of their austere lifestyle encompassing not excess, but rather abundance of spirit. The very foods consumed fortifying the fighters molded by harsh steel and rigorous discipline. A Spartan bread made from barley is exchanged for wares. It becomes a vessel infused with the promise of health and fortitude, fueling battles against both the physical and emotional storms ahead. Beneath the sun's blistering gaze, weary farmers, often helots, toil restlessly under the weight of their shackles. Each stroke of the plow they wield, an action that sculpts the very fabric of Spartan prosperity, bears witness to a grim reality, a stark contrast with the lives of their Spartan masters. The rhythm of life dictated by these farmers fuses into the land itself, as it feeds the war machine that is Spartan society. It is fascinating and deeply troubling to observe how this paradox, a community that depends on both valor and subjugation, shapes not just its storied warriors, but also the extraordinary spiritual enlightenment that grew from the soil of their oppression. The helot's plight, tethered to the cycles of sowing and harvest, hints at the delicate balance that governs human existence, a cycle where hope wrestles with despair, ambition meets resistance, and the very heartbeat of a civilization can become an echo of suffering masked behind a veneer of martial strength. The relationship between Spartans and helots is a bitter symbiosis, fraught with the unspoken tensions simmering just beneath the surface. What role does mercy play in a society that elevates strength to such dizzying heights? What fragility emerges when the burden of power grows insidiously heavy, demanding not just loyalty but blind devotion? Yet, amid the mundane rituals of agriculture and labor, the spiritual life of the Spartans looms large, serving as a guiding force in their collective journey. The worship of Ares, the god of war, and Athene, the goddess of wisdom, becomes intertwined with the very fabric of society, a constant dialogue between strength and strategy, chaos and order. Temples adorned with intricate carvings serve not just as places of worship, but as mighty edifices that inspire community cohesion, enabling rituals to unfold under an expansive sky, where smoke from sacrificial fires wafts upward as prayers rise amidst a chorus of chants. Here the Spartan ethos is reinforced, echoing promises of glory that cascade through time, encapsulating a culture that revered not just conquest but the very psyche behind it. Consider the solemnity of the festivals that draw the citizenry together, the Gymnopedia, a vibrant tapestry of athletic exhibitions meant to celebrate physical prowess and communal solidarity. As young men dance and showcase their endurance, society witnesses a moment frozen in time, where warriors are revealed not just as tools of war, but as intricate pieces of a collective identity. It is as much a display of militaristic fervor as it is a dance of liberation, framed by the backdrop of family and neighbors united in admiration. And yet the unspoken question lingers: at what cost do such visceral celebrations unfold when the very system in place thrives on the oppression of another? In these moments, shadows deepen, and as the sun begins its retreat, the courtyard returns to silence. The juxtaposition unfolds, moments of joy coexist with the realization of an impending transformation. The helots, ever so vigilant, harbor their anguish and stir with a quiet yet palpable ambition for change. Each fleeting glance exchanged among them becomes charged, ripples of resistance forging in the depths of their hearts. Their gathering strength hints at an uprising born not merely from despair but from the very essence of humanity, the unyielding yearning for autonomy, for a voice, for dignity. Soon the rhythm will change. A misstep in the delicate ballet of power and subjugation will echo through the valleys of Laconia, where even the strongest can falter. The idyllic scenes of daily life will tremble at the footfalls of fate as envy, fear, and ambition do battle with destiny. How long before the very walls that cradle Spartan ideals crack beneath the weight of aspirations wrought with unforeseen consequences? As we delve deeper into this saga, the layers of Spartan life reveal their emotional richness, a complexity built on the interplay of ideals versus reality, valor entwined with vulnerability. Each moment unfolds with a resonance that beckons to be felt, urging us to explore further as we inch closer to an unfolding clash of purpose and consequence. The warriors of Sparta stand at the edge, poised not merely for conflict on the battlefield but for a confrontation with their very soul, each heartbeat a reminder that life's truest battles often lie beyond swords, encapsulated in the intricate dance of existence where ambition and loyalty struggle for dominance. As night descends upon the landscape, illuminating the stars that steadfastly shine above, we turn our gaze to the horizon, a horizon that holds the promise of battles yet fought and threads of history yet woven. With every flickering flame of evening fires, the past whispers of strength, fragility, love, and loss, reminding us that the true spirit of Sparta thrives not just in the ideals of valor and discipline, but in the delicate interplay of hope and heartache that shapes the human story. The stage is set, history will soon crack open to reveal the choices made and the legacies left in its wake, echoing through time, touching the very essence of existence as we travel ever closer to a transformation that reverberates throughout the ages. The dark cloak of night envelops the Spartan landscape, its shadows concealing a simmering consciousness poised for transformation, while embers flicker in the hearth, casting a flickering light on the walls of history. Fragile yet potent, the Spartan ideal exists in a state of constant evolution, a society whose very fabric is woven with the threads of ambition, duty, and increasingly, insurrection. Each heartbeat reverberates with the clashing undertones of personal aspiration, meeting the rigidity of a militaristic regime, an entity both heralded and feared, becoming a crucible for conflict as the once harmonious rituals of life begin to unravel, revealing fault lines that threaten to sunder more than just the loyalties of men. As the 7th century BCE gives way to turmoil, the relentless march of Spartan ambition takes on new dimensions, underscored by aspirations outward yet firmly rooted in an increasingly precarious internal structure. It is during this time that the echoes of Helot discontent morph into a hum, an undercurrent of resistance reverberating across the fields where alabaster plows tear into the soil, laborers' hands stained not just with earth but with the weight of oppression. Every sweaty brow that dips beneath a scene of toil carries with it thoughts of rebellion, dreams of an escape from servitude, and the insatiable hunger for dignity, a longing that unites the Helots, sparking a subtle fire within their ranks. Meanwhile, Spartan leadership, marked by its rigid hierarchy, Lycurgus's laws still prevalent, shaped from a vision of militaristic society intertwined with ideals of communal excellence, begins to feel the strain. While the society prides itself on its fierce warriors and austere values, the omnipresent tension between the ruling Spartans and the subjugated Helots stirs like a dormant volcano threatening to erupt. The core belief in Spartan superiority mutates, like the twisting winds that shape the valleys. No one is impervious to the influence of pride, ignorance, and the inevitable discontent simmering just beyond the Spartan walls. The urgency to quell rising agitation begets fear-driven military solutions, fostering an atmosphere of paranoia, an anxiety that loyalty might falter beneath the weight of this collective yearning for autonomy. And so we arrive at the moment in which fate will turn. The narrative draws closer to a pivotal conflict that threatens not just to reshape the battlefield, but the very soul of Sparta itself. The polities of Greece, each steeped in their own histories, begin to twist toward a reckoning. It is here, in the face of external pressures and the challenge of Athenian dominance, that the Peloponnesian League gathers strength, a coalition of city-states united under the Spartan banner, though tenuously held together by varying ambitions and disparate motivations. Leaders emerge, charismatic figures like Archidamus II and the potent figure of Cleomenes III, their decisions weaving a complex tapestry of alliances and enmities. And all the while, above them, hangs the specter of the Helot rebellion, a dark undercurrent of tension stretching taut. In brutal contrast, the famed Battle of Thermopylae stands as a testament to the Spartan warrior ethos, an event immortalized for its valor and dedication to the cause. The struggle led by King Leonidas, a struggle not merely against the invading Persian juggernaut but against the very unraveling threads of Spartan dominance, narrative more profound than simply the duty to one king or nation. Here, amidst the clash of bronze and steel, the nature of heroism is cast under harsh light. It asks the question, what means more, the fight for survival or the fight against one's self-imposed fetters? The remnants of the Spartan spirit carry forward. Its audaciousness can be felt on the winds of conflict as they prepare for war, marching forth to contest and reclaim a vision of glory. Yet this ambition, cloaked in valor, inevitably leads to paths diverging toward tragedy. The famed battlefield prowess that served to unify Spartans fractures under the strain of mounting internal pressures. The very discipline that shaped their identity now suffocates their freedoms. Those who once reveled in martial might diverted from the battlefield onto fields of introspection, questioning the legitimacy of bloodshed that births victory but at an unspeakable cost. In a society that revered masculine strength and austere principles, voices of dissent grow louder, mixed with whispers in the shadows. The Helots no longer willing to yield, society teetering on the brink. As we witness the tide shift, The Battle of Leuctra enters the frame as a corrosive arrow aimed directly at the heart of Sparta's self-assuredness. The Thebans, guided by the astute tactician Epaminondas, exploit the underpinnings of Spartan superiority, shifting both tactics and allegiances. Underestimating their rivals, the Spartans are caught off guard. Their loss at Leuctra becomes a harbinger of decline and conflict. The cries of war met with the sound of falling shields resonate through the ages, the once unassailable fortress of Spartan ideals starting to fade, cracking under the weight of expectations too high for mere mortals to sustain. In the aftermath, and marked by unprecedented loss, the very structure of Spartan society begins to buckle. As Helots seize the moment to rise and assert their dignity, the ruling class finds itself embroiled in a battle against not only an external foe but their collective disillusionment, a warrior culture now consumed by fear of rebellion from those it sought to suppress. What once defined their legacy, valor and discipline, seems increasingly hollow. Ambitions of greatness fracture as the fabric of control frays with every act of defiance. Thus unfolds the inevitable grave transformation. A society hallmarked by a relentless pursuit of warrior excellence emerges as a shadow of its former glory, consumed by internal strife and external pressures alike. No longer can they merely rest on their swords, as the tides of history continue to surge forward, reshaping the trajectory of their narratives. The Spartan ethos, once a beacon of singular ambition, serves now as a backdrop to a profound lesson. Absolute power inevitably extracts a toll that bleeds through the very heart of civilization, where ambition, once celebrated, transforms into self-inflicted wounds upon identity. Amidst the chaos brewing on the horizon, a haunting realization dawns. The collapse of the Spartan legacy is not solely tied to military missteps or the strength of opposing forces, but rather to the insidious, hidden power structures crumbling under pressure, echoes of man's ambition twisting wildly into a labyrinth of conflicts, ideological shifts surfacing amid turmoil that permeates intimate spaces of human experience. The fall becomes not just the story of a singular entity, it reverberates through the annals of time, illuminating how swiftly societal marvels can dissolve before our eyes, leaving behind only whispers of what once was. It is within these moments of revelation that we reflect on the very nature of power and the deep-rooted ambitions that spur human action. The people of Sparta, laborers and warriors, leaders and helots, are bound together through a shared journey into the depths of resilience and fragility. Their collective story, steeped in honor, fear, and an ever-present desire for something greater, reminds us that the rhythm of existence will continue, pushing the wheel of history forward where new challenges will emerge and new alliances will forge as the landscape of human endeavor expands ever outward. For like these sentinels of strength, we face the fervor of our own ambitions. The challenge laid before us echoes across time, daring us to question what lessons emerge from the ashes of a once great civilization. Prestige, victory, and strength only offer a sliver of understanding to an age that craves meaning beyond conquest, marking the unfolding of events that bring us closer to comprehend not just Spartan glory, but the intricate legacy bequeathed to all of humanity. And as the stars shimmer in the night sky, we must wonder, what stories will we write, what ideals will we pursue, and how will the legacies of our ambitions echo through the corridors of time? For the great weave of history relies not on the might of the sword alone, but on the hearts through which the tremors of the past pulse still. Speaking of glory and downfall interlinked, a testament to the perpetual dance between power, ambition, and the deeply human experience. As dawn's light pierces the veil of night, shadowed silhouettes of past battles stand as silent witnesses to the unfolding narrative of a society in deep transition. The vibrant colors of the Spartan landscape, a stark contrast to the ruins of ambition, echo with the whispers of history, recalling the fierce warriors who once roamed these lands. Yet beneath this beauty lies a turbulent sea of emotions and consequences, each wave crashing against the shores of a civilization that, despite its martial strength, could not stave off the tides of change. The Battle of Leuctra marked a devastating pivot, shattering the ostensible invincibility that had cloaked the Spartans since time immemorial. This was not merely a defeat on the fields of combat, but a chipping away at the very identity that Sparta had forged through generations of unwavering discipline and valor. The reverberations of this battle sent tremors through the heart of the Spartan psyche, unveiling cracks in the very foundation of their collective consciousness. As the invisible hand of fate reshuffled allegiances and ambitions, arise the questions of how such prideful destinies could unravel with a singular defeat. A tapestry once intricately woven now begun to fray. Sparta had been the very embodiment of control and order, but now the reality hummed through the cracks of societal structure. With citizens disillusioned by the stark reality of loss, the environment becomes ripe for introspection. The army, once the pride of the city, is now riddled with whispers of doubt. The emotional atmosphere thickened with a sense of impending doom. A quiet desperation casts a pall over the city-state's proud warriors. Questions linger in the air like smoke from extinguished fires. How can one grapple with the weight of a failed legacy? Where lies the path towards recovery when the very ideals that once forged unity now serve as chains? In the aftermath of Leuctra, Sparta's profound institutional fatigue becomes palpable. The Helots' long shadows in the confines of Spartan society rise anew, emboldened by the very defeat that had been meant to reaffirm the Spartans' might. The carefully curated narrative of dominion shifts dramatically. The rebellion is not simply an uprising but a reclamation of voice, a clarion call for dignity lost and autonomy desired. Here lies the paradox of oppression. In struggling against the weight of control, the oppressed unveil a fierce spirit that not only questions the rigidity of the regime but seeks to dismantle it altogether. History reveals itself not in singular victories or defeats, but in the collective reactions that come in their wake. Societies under siege often find that their survival lies not in the strength of their warriors, but in the resilience of their people. As Helot rebellion takes root, the Spartans retreat into their fortified enclaves, overwhelmed with anxiety and uncertainty of their standing. What was once perceived as strength swiftly devolves into isolation, as fear casts a long shadow over communal aspirations. Those very ideals of courage that had once promised an unyielding identity now loom large, transformed into specters haunting the dreams of every Spartan warrior. The psychological toll manifests not only on the battlefield but within the very walls that were meant to protect them. They too begin to echo the anguish and turmoil of a civilization disintegrating from the inside. In these turbulent times, identity, the core of Spartan existence, begins to shift as individuals grapple with the stark reality of their failures. The Spartan way, steeped in military acumen but bereft of flexibility, faces an existential crisis. With the ideals of resilience challenged by the specter of loss, citizens begin to fracture under an emotional burden they were not prepared to face. Those who once took pride in unyielding discipline must now adapt, but adaptation comes with its own complexities. How does one remain faithful to the tenets of a society while simultaneously wrestling with the shadows of injustice that echo within its very heart? This narrative arc spirals into a complex interplay of human experience, a poignant reminder of the fragility of ideals. The Spartan landscape, a battleground of ambition, transforms into a theater for choosing between adaptation and adherence. Helots and Spartans, once entrenched antagonists, now navigate intermingled paths toward new identities. The contours of life in Sparta shift, landscapes reconfigure against this backdrop of turmoil, questions of purpose arise, echoed in the quiet corners of every home. In these moments, the essence of humanity emerges, not merely as warriors but as people yearning for connection, understanding, and perhaps redemption. Simultaneously, the legacy of competition starts to fester, as the notion of winning at all costs confronts the human cost of ambition. In this wounded society, nobility and honor intertwine with failure and regret, a bittersweet amalgamation resonating through Spartan hearts and souls. The ideals that had once distinguished them now fracture into a host of interpretations, as the lines between honor and ambition dissolve. The echoes of history reverberate through the ages, compelling us to question: is great ambition the harbinger of greatness or a fool's errand that leads to ruin? With the echoes of defeat still resonating, the changing landscape of alliances across the Greek world strains against the fabric of Spartan existence. New powers ascend as the Thebans, emboldened by their success, begin to articulate visions of governance and society that contradict Spartan doctrine. The fabric of the region begins to shimmer with new possibilities even as it threatens to engulf Sparta's own identity, a fragile dichotomy entwined in the very fabric of existence. Like shifting sands against the tides of time, loyalties bend and break. What was once a unified front against Athenian dominance transitions into a fragmented reality desperately searching for cohesion. As the echoes of Spartan reforms spill into the public consciousness, the decision-makers at the helm wrestle with shadows of their own. Would they continue to cling to their embattled definitions of strength, or could they harness the potential for collaboration, recognizing that their survival may depend on shared interests rather than rigid hierarchies? The emotional landscape of Sparta becomes an intricate tapestry woven with uncertainties and contemplations, the promise of a reimagined community set against the backdrop of looming existential threats. In this theater of change, we witness the slow revelation of what it means to survive in a world marked by continuous flux. Not just a lesson in the art of war, but one enveloping the contours of humanity itself. How do we endure when everything we once held dear seems poised to dissolve into history? The fruits of ambition, once cherished, now dappled with the bittersweet realization of consequence. And as we sift through the ashes of a fading ideology, we ask ourselves what will remain. mere remnants of glory, or the courageous attempts at reconciliation and understanding that can pave the way for a new identity? The essence of Sparta drifts forward, borne on the winds of time. How will history judge these souls entwined with their legacies? The answer may lie not in the indisputable tales of valor, but in the hushed whispers of those left behind, capturing the fragile beauty of resilience woven with the complexities of failure. The world that shaped them meets the world that changes them, a poignant reminder that as we traverse through the corridors of time, questions of identity, power, and consequence emerge as the eternal threads interlacing humanity's long journey toward self-discovery. In this quiet moment of reflection, we stand poised at the intersection of consequence and legacy. The Spartan story serves not merely as a record of martial prowess, but ultimately as a tapestry woven in the lessons of humility, adaptation, and the profound essence of what it means to be human in a continuously changing world. What remains etched in the fabric of time is not a simplistic tale of victories and losses, but rather a deep narrative, an intricate inquiry into ambition, identity, and the echo of aspirations that continue to resonate through our shared human experience. As the historical narrative unfolds, we slowly grasp the layered intricacies of what it means to be in pursuit of greatness, a journey fraught with risk, reflections of loss, and ultimately a chance for something greater than ourselves. As we pause amidst the fading echoes of a civilization once vibrant with vigor, we are drawn into the contemplation of what truly endures through the corridors of history. The crumbling remnants of Sparta stand stubbornly against the relentless march of time, their stones etched with silent narratives that whisper of the ambition, fear, and unyielding pride that characterized an extraordinary human endeavor. Each weathered facade, each forsaken battleground, is a testament to the resilience entwined within the essence of humanity itself, an unwavering spirit that continues to strive, adapt, and sometimes falter. The legacy of Sparta is woven into the very fabric of our modern world, its threads intertwining with notions of citizenship, valor, and ethics in a way that transcends temporal boundaries. In the echoes of their ambition, we hear the heartbeat of an ancient desire, the quest for greatness that fuels human endeavor across generations. Sparta's fierce warriors sought immortality, not merely through glory on the battlefield but in the stories that would be told long after their fall, a testament to a society that burned brightly, even as the embers flickered toward extinction. Yet there lies a poignant irony threading through the story of Sparta. The very ideals that forged their identity, the discipline, the kinship in arms, ultimately led them to confront the inherent fragility of power. The loss at Leuctra shattered their illusion of invincibility, leaving a cavernous void that reverberated in the souls of its inhabitants. With each year that slipped away, the clarity of greatness became blurred, and the harsh realities of their strict societal constructs began to unravel the very foundation upon which their world was built. What remains in our collective memory is often not the glories but the conflicted tapestry that mirrors our own lives, full of aspirations that can either elevate us or ensnare us within the constraints of our making. In the quietude of present-day landscapes, we find Sparta's legacy resonating through modern interpretations of heroism and governance. Yet the echoes of this ancient world remind us that strength without empathy is a feeble fortress, subject to the tides of rebellion, change, and ultimately erasure. The Helots, once subjugated and unseen, now emerge in the annals of history, reasserting their identities and illuminating the hidden narratives that had been relegated to the margins. This reclamation serves as a mirror, asking us to reflect not only on the oppressor's ambition, but also on the resilience born of oppression, transforming the whisper of rebellion into a resounding call for recognition and humanity. As we turn our gaze upon the remnants of Spartan society, the footpaths worn into stone, the walls that no longer echo with the clamor of glory but rather with the poignant silence of loss, we realize that history is not merely a chronicle of dates and events. It is the accumulation of collective memory and lived experience, a continuum in which the stories of all peoples intertwine. The forgotten streets of Sparta, dotted with fading structures, remind us that the grandeur of a civilization can dissipate like mist, yet its memory lingers, imbuing the earth with an unshakable resonance. Each site of conflict, each whispering wind, persists in carrying the weight of aspirations, conflicts, and the relentless pursuit of what it meant to be human. In each turn of the landscape, we discover how the ideas cultivated in ancient Sparta evolved over time, shaped, reshaped, and sometimes misinterpreted by those who came after. The values of courage, duty, and sacrifice can still be found echoing in the chambers of modern militaries, civic responsibilities, and even in our communal narratives around leadership and ambition. This enduring influence nudges our consciousness to acknowledge that the Spartan legacy is not contained solely within the pages of history, but lives on, transforming continually as it weaves its way through the fabric of collective human aspiration. And yet, there lies a gentle sorrow within this exploration, a quiet recognition that the idealization of Sparta often glosses over the complexities that wove its rich tapestry. The emotional echoes of past triumphs and tragedies coalesce into a profound understanding, illuminating the lessons buried within the ruins. History beckons us to not only applaud ambition, but to grapple with its consequences, how the very pursuit of greatness can blossom into tyranny, and how the strength meant to safeguard can become the chains that bind. As we reflect on the poetic tragedies that unfolded within this martial society, and as the mist of time gently sways the narratives from certainty into ambiguity, we find ourselves standing at the precipice of philosophical inquiry. What does it mean to strive for greatness, only to confront the possibility of failure? How do we reconcile the desires that propel us forward with the ethical implications echoing beneath our pursuit? These questions, though specific to Sparta, reverberate through the ages, igniting the flame of introspection across generations. In the midst of fading grandeur, we must dare to listen to the hushed breath of the ancients, the whispers of Spartan parents teaching their children, the echoed advice of warriors who found glory, and the silent pleas of those who yearned for freedom. The remnants of Spartan life become more than mere structures. They become vessels of memory, preserving the vibrant stories of human existence that intertwine with aspirations both noble and flawed. As we gracefully drift toward the conclusion of this historical journey, we recognize the significance of silence amid introspection. The atmosphere grows thicker with contemplation, allowing moments of stillness to envelop us, a profound acknowledgement that the past continues to breathe within our present, a reminder that while the landscape of Spartan ambition has changed, its lessons remain imprinted upon our collective consciousness. In this delicate balance between aspiration and consequence, between valor and vulnerability, we come to understand that history is a narrative of humanity's greatest achievements and profound mistakes. Each shift in fortune, each battle lost or won, reverberates like the heartbeat of our ongoing journey through time, urging us to look deeper, reflect earnestly, and embrace the multifaceted legacies that shape our identities today. As we take a final glance at the ruins that cradle the voices of those long gone, we are left with an understanding unsaid. The excavation of memory is not merely a scholarly endeavor, but a vital part of the human experience. The lessons of Sparta, etched within the annals of time, guide us gently, a soft reminder that the echoes of ambition, resilience, and the quest for connection persist, forever intertwining our paths with those who ventured before us. With the fading light of day nurturing the landscape, we recognize that the people of Sparta may have departed, but their world still resonates quietly through ours. The stillness of this moment holds the weight of history, imbuing the air with a sense of ending, yet paradoxically, a sense of perpetual beginning. As we take our leave from this ancient world, let us carry forth the lessons learned, woven into the very fabric of our humanity, a history that, while rooted in the past, gently inclines towards the future, fostering an enduring legacy whispered through the ages.